You're watching BCTV. We're all about Branford. You're watching BCTV, Branford Government Television, a service of Branford Community Television. This program is brought to you in part through the support of the town of Branford.
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. The RTM will be convened on Wednesday, September 13, 2023 at 8 p.m. at Branford Fire Headquarters, 45 North Main Street, to consider and act upon the following matters. Will everybody please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 1, roll call.
Okay, Representative Alphone.
Here.
Representative Amore.
Here.
Representative Anderson.
Here.
Representative Barron.
Here.
Representative Black.
Here.
Representative Bonenberger.
Here.
Representative Brooks. Absent. Representative Conklin.
Here.
Representative Erlanger.
Here.
Representative Everson.
Here.
Representative Flanagan.
Here.
Representative Greenberg.
Here.
Representative Healy.
Here.
Representative Henschel.
Here.
Representative Hesse.
Here.
Representative Hines.
Here.
Representative Ingraham.
Here.
Representative Leach is present. Representative Maresca.
Here.
Representative Napani. Absent. Representative Preet.
Here.
Representative Riccio.
Present.
Representative Shrestha.
Present.
Representative Sayers. Representative Stepanik.
Here.
Representative Sullivan.
Here.
Representative Torelli. Absent. Representative Toohill.
Here.
Representative Verderam.
Here.
And Representative Wells. Absent. Okay, and ex officios, we have First Selectman Cosgrove, Selectman Higgins, and Town Clerk Arpin. Am I missing anyone? No. Okay, that's it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, 2 items we need to do here. We need to, this was inadvertently left off the call. We made a motion to change the item number 25 will be other business to come before the RTM, and item 26 will be an adjournment. Do I have a motion to add this to the call? Representative Ingram, is there a second?
So moved.
Any discussion on question on this? Hearing none, all those in favor signify for saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. The other thing is on your page 5 on your call that you have the revised agendas. It did meet the paper, but it didn't meet the town website. So item 19, 20, and 21, and I'll read these. We just need a motion to add this to the call. Item 19 is to consider and approve the following transfers from the tax collector for 2023, and it's from a contingency, $13,141, to overtime, $9,235, to tax.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
This page of the agenda was posted on the town website. It wasn't with the rest of the agenda. It was part of the document, so you had to scroll
All right.
way down.
I was informed that it didn't make the
No,
Senate.
it did. It was page
Is
25.
Yeah.
It was actually in page 25 in the mass.
So you're saying it did?
It was on there.
All right. Well, if that's the case, we don't have to do anything on that then.
Good.
Okay. Moving on to item 2 is the approval of the minutes of the June 14th regular meeting and the July 26th special meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
I like that motion.
I'll second.
Is there a second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are approved without exception. Item number 3, receptions of communications, reports of committees, and citizens' petitions. I do have one. It's a letter addressed to me and the town clerk, and it's from Miss Christina M. Carrera and Mrs. Rachel Pre-K class, Learn and Play Christian Early Center. Dear Branford RTM, please consider funding and establishing a zoo in Branford. Our class would like to request the following agenda: some cobras, some zebras, some llamas, some jaguars, a horse, you name it. And the class as a whole would like to have a request of the family if possible. Well, the RTM really doesn't establish the funding on this, but I will forward this to the Board of Selectmen for review. I have to give that to you, but Lisa has that. But
I just wanted to get the news for
Okay.
Thank you.
And you have nothing else, right?
Nothing else? No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to item 4. To consider and, if appropriate, establish a Harbor Management Commission as set forth in CGS Section 22A-113K. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. R&O did not meet over the summer, so I'd like to make a motion to re-refer items 4 and number 5, which is the Fair Rent Commission.
Okay, is there a second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of referring item 4, which is the Harbor Management, and item 5 would be to consider and appropriately establish a fair rent commission as required by state statutes. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of re-referring these 2 items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, item 4 and item 5 have been re-referred. Moving on to item 6, to consider and, if appropriate, approve the funding transfer for the tax collector for fiscal 2023 from contingency $87,949 to tax refunds $87,949. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. Ways and Means met last Wednesday, September the 6th, to hear this motion. And basically what we're looking at is the tax department had just underfunded the account for tax appeals. They actually cleared up more accounts than they thought they were going to. This is not just appeals on personal property, but also leased vehicles. And it passed through committee, the exchange from contingency 5-0. And I put it in the form of a motion for its passage here tonight. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 7, to consider and, if appropriate, approve the following transfer for information technology for fiscal 2023 from communications $6,104 to regular wages and salaries $6,104. Representative Anderson.
This was a meeting for admin services. We met September 5th. We discussed this at the committee. Debbie Murto made a presentation at the Board of Finance that this was for money to cover vacation for a retiring employee. This passed unanimously in committee, and I put that into a form of motion today.
Motion on the floor to approve the transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM?
May I ask a question?
Representative Healy? Lance, go ahead.
What, did it pass committee in a vote? Was
Yes.
it unanimous?
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Any discussion from the members of the RTM? Any discussion from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, item passes. Moving on to item 8, to consider and, if appropriate, approve the following transfer of information technology for fiscal 2024. From contingency, $28,000 to technology acquisition, $23,000 to purchase services, $5,000 for a total of $28,000. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, again, this was heard as well just last Wednesday. What we're looking at here is a request from contingency for The technology acquisitions is really increase in licensing fees. It's government set pricing. There's no change in vendors, as well as there was an increase in the amount of employees that we needed the software for. So this also went through committee and passed 5-0, and I ask for its passage here this evening in the form of a motion. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve the transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? Discussion from any comments from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 9, to consider and if appropriate approve the following transfers from elections for fiscal 2023. From registrars, $13,485 to part-time clerical, $2,018 to deputy registrars, $7,102. To other purchases, $296. To other supplies, $46. To technology, $3,000. To travel, $23, for a total of $13,485. Representative Anderson.
Before, Mr. Moderator, because I am one of the deputy registrars that
you already
voted on tonight, I'd like to recuse myself from the vote.
You recuse yourself? Okay.
Someone tell me when it's over. I'll be
Okay.
We'll knock on the door.
Okay, Representative Anderson.
Admin Services met again on September 5th to discuss this item. Don Conklin and Jeff Rowan presented the agenda with technologies and purchases and repairs. Hold on one second. Oh, and this motion carried unanimously through committee.
So did you make a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve, sorry.
Okay. Any discussion from members of the RTM?
Yes, Mr. Moderator?
Representative Everson, go ahead.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator, if I could just get a clarification from the registrar. I think I saw Jeff. Yeah, could you come up to the microphone, please? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Rowan. I'm the Democrat Register of Voters here in the town.
Thanks. Jeff, can you just clarify for us, this is to cover expenditures within the registrar's office prior to the primary that was held yesterday?
Yeah.
So this is it because of a lack of staffing in the office that some of the other pockets of money had to be moved around to cover?
Well, truthfully, I'll just say up front, I started July 1st, so this budget and the buckets that originally went into was approved or sorted out by the original two registrars. So from what is it, and Don Conklin had set this up and wrote this out, most of this stuff, I guess, we did hire someone new, but that didn't start till afterwards. So I said, the way the money was set up was previously set. So unfortunately, I'd like to be able to help you with that, but I'm not really 100% sure beside what is stated here.
Okay.
But the money is there. I said with the technology, I think we discussed last week, was new laptops. Travel was for conventions that we go to. Part-time clerical, I said, if I remember correctly, there was a change in the way people were paid for the last election in November. We used to do a flat fee. Now I think we're doing hourly. And the deputy registrars, I said, that was myself and Don. We were probably filling in extra hours for when one of the other registrars is out and other people were coming and going. So maybe that's what the extra hours are for.
Okay. And the Republican registrar is out of the office currently?
Yes, he's, my understanding is on medical leave. I mean, he does call and check in, but he's unfortunately unavailable.
Right. Okay, so in terms of the cost of the primary, that's still to come before us?
Yes, that is separate. That would probably be the 23-24 budget, and I think, from my understanding, I've been told, that is put in a different budget thing, and then I think once we present it, what we cost, and then I guess it's brought out that way. But it's not, my understanding, it's not in the current 23-24 budget, but it's something that's put aside for the years that do have primaries.
Right. And there was a consultant that was brought in to prepare the primary because there wasn't?
Yes, she will be with us through November. She's a North Haven head moderator, ex-registrar, and she works Tuesdays, Thursdays, like most of us, 5-hour days.
Okay. Thank you. So more to come on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Representative Sires, you had your hand up?
I just want to add one thing. I'm going to abstain on this. The information that was presented to the committee was refuted. It was not information that Jeff presented, but it was refuted by the person who we were told was going to be running the primary. And because of that, I will be abstaining on this. Thank you.
Okay. Representative, no?
I'm not comfortable that I've had enough time to absorb the information, so I'd like to change my vote.
Okay. Any further discussion from members of the RTM? Representative Mori? Go ahead.
Thank you. Jeff, I need a mic. I'll use it. Jeff, in the meeting, the question was asked about the cost of the consultant that you've been working with. Are the costs of that consultant any part of that?
No, my understanding is that this is before me, and I'm not making an excuse for that, but this is the 22-23 budget. So she would be on the 23-24 budget.
Okay, so that would add to what's going to have to come before us?
I believe so, or maybe there are monies in other places that we haven't used that we could use to cover that. But yeah, that has not been.
So the consultant did not work in 22-23?
Not at all. So she started roughly about, I think, two to 3 weeks ago. So yeah, so she just started, I think it was the end of August into this month. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments from the RTM? Motion on the floor is to approve this. Any comments from the public? Hearing none. All in favor of this transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Abstain.
Raise your hand, please, for the abstentions.
Abstentions, 5. 5.
Yeah, we won't.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Okay. All right. The item passes. Moving on to item 10. To consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfers for the Recreation Department for fiscal year 2023. From regular wages and salaries, $13,500, to overtime, $5,000, to uniforms, clothing allowance, $500, to utilities, water, gas, and electric, $6,000, to membership, conference, and meetings, $2,000, for a total of $13,500. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Sorry, I think I turned
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. There we go. Testing 1, 2, 2. Okay. Last Wednesday, we did not hear this item. Unfortunately, Mr. Paluzzi was not available, but we did review the item. Okay. We did so off of what we heard as a presentation from the Board of Finance, as well as the letter that Alex had sent in. This basically is an inter-department transfer, and for what was stipulated at the time was due to the change towards overtime and whatnot because of the increase in number of events, extra bathroom cleaning, less seasonal help, as well as their mandatory training. There was not much more discussion to be had on this, and it did pass committee 5-0. And I'd like to see it passed here, and I put that in form of a motion. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? Representative Mori?
Just pull the mic over to.
Yeah, I should. Thank you, Representative Healy. Was there any explanation for why there was so much left in regular wages and salaries?
Again, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Vacancies. Yes.
Yeah, and
vacancies. apparently, as I'm being told.
Thank you.
Yes.
Representative Black?
Yeah, for those of us who've been regularly scheduling stuff with the rec department and the community house, there's a vacancy. Andrea Kenny retired, I think, and that position has not been filled. So, to make up for that vacancy, there's been some overtime. The discussions that I have had with Alex is he's unsure whether he really needs to fill that position. So that's why there is a vacant position that was budgeted, and somebody left mid-year. I forget when she left, maybe March or something. So that's why there's that funding there. Thank you.
So vacancies.
Yeah, a vacancy, but well.
Any further
Just
discussion?
Just real quick, the Andrea's replacement is in. I think he started very recently, like last few days.
We have a
Really nice guy, going to the theme tonight.
Oh, it was filled?
Okay. Okay. Sorry. Update.
There is no vacancy now.
Take it all back, Peter.
Well, we'll have a little bit this year, but not a lot.
Any further discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none. All those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The transfer passes. Moving on to item 11, to consider if appropriate, approve the following transfer for Willie Wallace Memorial Library for fiscal 2023 from library staff $250 to longevity $250. There's a lot of discussion on this transfer, so Representative Verderam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Good evening, everyone. The Education Committee did not meet due to the 9/11 Remembrance holiday, so I would like to waive Rule 441.
Motion on the floor to waive Rule 441.
Second.
Is there a second? Representative Black. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Rule 441 has been waived. Representative Verderam.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So this is a pretty simple intra-year, intra-budget transfer for the very large amount of $250, and I put that into the form of a favorable motion. Thank you.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Representative Ingraham. Any discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item carries. Moving on to item 12, to consider and appropriate, approve the following transfer from the Solid Waste Management and Recycling from fiscal 2023. From regular salaries and wages, $64,750, to material handling, $62,400, to refuge and recycling collection, $2,000, to overtime, $350, for a total of $64,750. Representative Conklin.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Moderator. The Public Service Committee did not meet due to multiple illnesses. We couldn't have a quorum that evening, so I would again have to ask to waive Rule 441.
Is there a second?
Mr. Moderator, can we amend that for all the items that were?
Yeah.
For public service?
So that's item 12, 13, 14, 15, and 17.
Okay.
12, 13.
Yeah.
Could you repeat those numbers again, Representative Copeland?
12, 13, 14, 15, and 17.
Thank you.
Okay, motion on the floor is to waive the Rule 441 for those following items. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion from members of RTM? Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'm actually a member of Public Services, and I'm opposed to 441ing these items. I feel that it's important for the committees to actually hear the items, especially since a lot of these transfers are bigger dollars, much more than the $250 that we just approved for the library. And so I'd rather have these re-referred back to committee to hear these items appropriately so that we can do the work of the RTM at the committee level, which is ultimately here is what we're supposed to do. I would urge my colleagues to oppose the motion to waive 441, and I will sit.
Okay. Any further discussion on waiving 441? The unfortunate thing is the fact that Representative Sullivan, that he didn't have a quorum. The people from the public services didn't show up.
Mr. Ryder, may I speak to that?
Yeah.
I'm a member of the committee, and I was never told that we were close to not having a quorum. There was no polling of the committee that I was aware of. So I would have definitely been available to attend the meeting. I was just told it was canceled with no knowledge. So just speaking to that comment.
Okay. Motion on the floor to waive Rule 441. So I have a show of hands, please. All those in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? 1, 2. I believe the motion passes. Continue, Representative Collin.
Okay, item number 12.
Hold on. What is Rule 441?
Rule 441 is to waive the reading of because the committee didn't meet, so therefore we have to waive so we can officially vote on the item on the call.
Oh.
Go ahead, Representative Collin, continue.
Request order.
Point of order. Rule 441 requires that these items be discussed in committee prior to a vote. Waiving it allows us to vote on that without the committee discussion. The opposition is that these were too important and too large transfers to do that on the floor because we do not have the time here or the representatives to fully explain what these transfers are about.
Okay.
Thank you.
Representative Conklin.
Okay, thank you. So this particular transfer is an intra-year, intra-department transfer where we did have, again, an opening in the department, saving the money in the regular wages and salaries, but as everyone knows, material handling for this year, expenses went up the most, which is your $62,000. And I would move that we approve this so that the pots of money are in the right pot.
Any motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second motion.
Okay. Any discussion? Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Through to Representative Conklin. In the materials that were provided from the Board of Finance, it also mentions that part of these funds that are being transferred or requested to be transferred are due to challenges from the vendor for invoices they're claiming were not paid. And so are we just, as the town, paying these invoices, or is there actually bookkeeping that the town has done that says we paid them and we're going to challenge that part?
All right, let's have Selectman Cosgrove.
Okay. So to answer your questions regarding the material handling, there were a number of invoices that we have received at the close of this fiscal year. A number of them were in dispute. We were, as many of you may be aware, we also oftentimes get hit what they refer to as contamination charges if a recycling stream isn't fully made up of what is supposed to be in that stream. Oftentimes, you know, and it's a very low threshold. We do document what's leaving. It is a very subjective process on how they determine what is contamination in terms of quantity. However, we do often challenge those. There was also, we feel that there were a number that had been addressed and with the contractor. However, we feel that we did not get credit for that being addressed. We receive those at the end of the fiscal year, saying that we have a number that need to be cleared up. We're encumbering essentially the full amount, 100% if we were just to say what they're claiming is due. However, we feel that it is not the full amount. We think that there's probably are some invoices that are owed and some things that need to be reconciled. But since we're closing out the year, we're encumbering the full claim. Doesn't mean we're going to pay. We're working with the vendor now and town staff to go through that. That satisfied with that answer? I mean, I don't know how much more. I mean, I don't want anyone to. I want you to feel that you have enough information. There's no need to.
I mean, that sounds like the only answer I'm going to get.
Well, it's the correct answer. It's a truthful answer. There's a claim. We don't necessarily feel that is fully owed, but we're close. It's important for everybody to realize, and for the public, what we're doing tonight are really closing out accounts from that ended June 30th. So we can close them out and begin the audit process for the next year. Those need to be closed out, as you see. I mean, just as you had the Register of Voters up here, that budget, although the Register came up to present it, as he was stating, that budget really was not under his purview or set up. That was under a previous Register, so he couldn't fully answer. But he's closing that out and now begin July 1. So again, it's just, these are mostly interdepartmental transfers. That is the reason why we're encumbering so much in that line item.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Selectman Cosgrove. So understanding the closing out of the fiscal year, and if I heard this correctly, so we're transferring in the assumption that the dollar amount covers all claims from the vendor. You're telling me that we don't expect to have to actually pay all of those claims from the vendor. So then, will this line item still be out of balance after the claims are finished, because those charges won't be fully drawn from this line item?
No. So what's not fully drawn, as it does in every year when any unexpended funds in any account goes into unassigned fund balance. So whatever remains from what you transfer into that account after the disputed invoices, after that dispute is resolved, any balance will then flow into unassigned fund balance and get credited towards the 23 fiscal year.
Mr. Meyer, may I continue?
Go ahead.
So understanding that timing, does that affect the ability to audit these accounts for the end of the fiscal year? Because I'm assuming that the claims with the vendor and going back and forth is going to...
We don't, no, I don't, they haven't even, we haven't even, that audit process hasn't started yet.
No, that's what I'm saying, but is that going to further delay it because we're going to wait to figure out these dollar amounts?
No, because it would get encumbered, and then say if it did, they would just capture that the following year. I just want to go to refuse and recycling. Is everyone okay with the material handling? So the $2,000 refuse and recycling collection, there was an adjustment with the Thimble Island collection. The Board of Selectmen voted for a contract of 1 year, which had an increase of $2,000. That was done after this budget was set. So this is to fully fund our contractual obligation for the collection of the Thimble Islands. And then the overtime is pretty straightforward, $350 overtime, some overtime for some of the work up at the transfer station covering the guys.
Representative Henschel?
Mr. Moderator, first a point of order. We, going back a step to the 441 vote we took, you asked for a show of hands and you did a count. I'd like to know what that count was for the record.
Would you say that again? I don't know.
You asked for a show of hands on and counted up the yeas and nays on that vote. and said that it was affirmed. I'd like to know what the actual count was.
I don't know if the total.
10 to 12.
I don't remember exactly what it was at this point, but it looked like the show of hands had more favor than it was against.
I have one question for.
Well, that can't be right, because I think I voted, you guys, and I think Jim voted.
So did Carol.
So that's,
And Carol,
so
so
we got 9 there.
10 to 12.
Five of
Last
you
time I
were
checked, 9 plus 3 is 12. Right?
Yeah, I think it was 13, 12.
I'd like to ask a question of the first selectman, and then perhaps we could just have a re-show of hands, and you
We could do that, sure. Okay. We can do that. I don't have a problem with that.
On the, that item 12, on the regular wages and salaries that this is drawn from, could you explain where that money, why that money is available?
Vacancies.
Vacancies? Okay.
There's vacancies, I mean, in these departments, and I don't know why that's amusing. People retire, so you had a retirement. I don't know where else is it. Yeah.
Thank you. So I would request a re-show of hands just for the record.
If I may, the motion initially from Representative Conklin was to waive Rule 441, and all those in favor, please raise your hand.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I get 10. Am I miscounting? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Another one. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11. Got 11.
Wait.
Show your hands again, please.
6, 7, 8, 11. 11 to 12.
12?
Well, we have to do the nose again.
The nose.
Nose.
Nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
So 12 and 12?
12, no, 12 and 11.
12, 4.
So 12
11,
again.
11 yes, 12 no.
12 no.
For 441.
Okay, so the motion. So we got to re-refer.
So we refer it.
That might extend the audit. You're concerned? Good, yeah.
The audit, we're a year behind, so the auditors won't get to this audit for.
We're behind, yeah, you know why we're behind, right? You don't want to open that can.
It's a matter of hearing it tonight or not.
Changing the abstention office.
What we're doing.
What's happening here?
So wait a minute. Is there some discussion going on with this? Because
the abstention said that you 13,
all right. Let's see the show of hands for 441 again.
Well, we were redoing the vote already, so it doesn't matter if you redo it.
No, we're just recounting the actual vote.
Yeah.
We were not re-voting, counting the actual.
You don't know who did what, so it's a revote.
It shouldn't have been.
You should ask for the number.
We should have had a record of it at the time.
It's not recorded.
It does go around the room.
Yeah.
It only puts him up.
All right, so, but I see some changes.
They said they changed.
Right.
The abstention said yes.
All right, there's some confusion here. Some people didn't have their hand up.
Barbara and I did not vote because we were like kind of put on the spot fast, so we didn't vote, but I didn't know it was going to be close. I'm okay hearing it tonight. I know, I don't need this to be like a big argument, that's what I was just saying.
We're just clarifying.
Those are 2 abstentions. They're official.
They can motion to refer.
So are we saying 2 more votes for waiving rules?
We're allowed to, we don't know if that we're allowed to.
Okay, 2 more votes. 4.
Okay, so now you're saying it's 13 to 12?
13 to 12.
No. You cannot vote past when a vote has called.
It's got to get reversed. They didn't abstain. It's got to be.
They did not vote, which is abstaining.
It is what it is.
Is there a rule for the parliamentarian through you, Mr. Moderator?
That's true. Thank you. Why are we using Peter?
I think we should go with
Well, if he's the parliamentarian.
No, I mean, why haven't you
the black
used
parliamentarian? Representative Black?
Yeah.
Do your job.
I really think, let's just re-refer these items.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Yeah, I'll third it.
That's my motion. If we want to take a recess, and I can.
My only question on that, Representative Black, is this: there's possibility that the RTM may or may not meet one more time before this RTM, and we have October. So the thing is, we have some of the presenters here tonight. We should vote this thing and get it done.
Like, I supported that, okay? I mean, if somebody who voted to oppose it, they can make a motion for a revote. But that's where we are parliamentary. Can we take a, other than that, I'd like to have a recess to consult.
What are you asking?
What are you going to consult?
Are you calling for a recess, Representative?
I'll call for a recess, yes.
Okay.
For 5 minutes.
All right, we are in a recess for 5 minutes.
So,
Okay, I'd like to call this meeting back to order. Representative Black?
My sister knows that.
Where's he going?
Kevin, I didn't know that. Kevin, congratulations.
What's that?
Your son's going to be a cop?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's both from yesterday.
We got a hometown hero.
I'm so excited. Happy for the kid.
And he's got to go. He's got to go to
The police academy. You're getting my son. Teach him well. Take good care of my boy. Is that part of the Amber? Amber's dispatching. So when she saw that they were going to 80 Village Lane to do an inquiry, she's like,
yeah.
She was like, I used to babysit him.
Thank God. I know. Chrissy was telling my dad that they were like working on him. It's the same thing background Sean.
He has no social media.
Yeah.
So all the time, they went through his friends' house and looking at his stuff.
Yeah. Wow. So you have to keep your nose clean from what, age 10?
I know, right?
Yeah. And he did. Because that's all social media. Social media.
All right.
Yeah.
Representative Black.
Yeah, the motion on 441, we're not close to the 2/3 that's required to suspend the rules. So I'd move that we re-refer these items unless there's some overriding need. We're going to have to meet again next month, and we'll consider them then. Obviously, I supported waiving the rule and suspending the rule, but at this point, I'll move that we re-refer these items, which were, give me the 12,
13, 14, 15, and 17.
and 16 was heard in committee. So we'll be able to hear that, but there's other ones, I'll move that we re-refer them.
So item 12.
13, 14.
Item 13.
12, 13, 14, 15,
17.
12, 13, 14,
15,
15,
and 17.
And 17.
and 17. What about 16?
16
was
we're
heard.
gonna do,
Okay,
yeah.
17
16's gonna go.
referred. Okay. So just for clarification then, item 12, item 13, item 14, item 15, and 17 are re-referred. And did I hear a motion on that to re-refer that?
Yes.
Is there a second? All those, okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No. No.
Abstentions? Okay. Let's see, let's see where we are here. 12.
16.
Yeah, I know, I gotta go over here, and I'm in 16. Okay, item 16, to consider and if appropriate, approve a request from the Fire Chief, Thomas Mahoney, to appropriate $250,000 earmark for the 2024 contingency to staff the Indian Neck Fire Station with 2 firefighters, male, female, 0800 to 1800. From contingency, $250,000 to overtime, $250,000.
It's Monday through Friday.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, that's Monday through Friday, besides just males and females. Well, we will take. Anybody? Any pronoun?
Well, thank you for that clarification then.
I'm looking at that, I'm like, cool, I mean, what's...
So Ways and Means met and heard this last Wednesday, and what we're looking at here again is just as it stated, the 2 firefighters for the Indian Neck Station. This past year, we've had increase in call volume, as everybody has seen and heard, as well as an unfortunate, pretty much statewide decrease in volunteers. So we're having a hard time filling some of those positions, and some of our gentlemen are working very hard with a lot of extra overtime. I will say that we also saw that, as we know, it's a combination of fire, paramedic, and the paramedic is what's also some of the revenue side of the stream. And there was well over $300,000 extra in revenue brought in this year from all those increase in the call volume. This did pass through committee 4-0 with 1 abstention, and I like to see it passed here, and I put that in form of motion. Thank you, sir.
Okay, motion on the floor to pass. Is there a discussion from members of the RTM? Representative Henschel, get your hand up.
Second.
Oh,
Doesn't need a second.
Oh, no? No? Yes, Representative Ingraham?
I'm speaking in favor of this item. The neighborhoods in Pawson and Pine Orchard and the areas along the water there were greatly served during the time we closed the bridge, and the fire department put personnel down there so that they didn't have to go around the bridge the extra 5 minutes, I think it would have been, to get to Pawson. Realizing that during that time, the calls to the very catastrophe ones could be heart attacks, strokes, and that. Bringing that time down to 2 or 3 minutes is going to be a great asset for that area. So I'm very much in favor.
Any further discussion from members of the RTM? Representative Everson?
Yes, thank you. I think this is a smart stopgap measure. This is going to be part of a larger plan that Chief Mahoney and the department are working on in terms of staffing. I think it serves that neighborhood of the district, the 5th district that I represent, along with Representative Ingraham and others. And it will get the firefighters to the scene faster in that part of town. So I would vote in favor of this. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, the item passes. Moving on to item 18, to consider and appropriate approve the following transfer for the Director of Human Resources for fiscal year 2023 from contingency $53,155 to labor relations $53,155. Representative Healy.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Again, this was also heard last Wednesday. Fairly straightforward. As you know, most of our union contracts revolve, so it's difficult to keep a straight line item for what's being done. This is increase in attorney fees. Excuse me. So we have 4 unions. One union alone had 6 contracts that it was dealing with, and this request coming from contingency, as you see. And after hearing it in committee, it passed through committee 5-0, and I'd like to see it passed here, and I put that in the form of the motion. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? Representative Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Through you to Representative Healy. Just a question. I'm in favor of this transfer. Is the increase in attorney fees based on taking more hours to to work on these contracts or an increase of the hourly rate from the attorneys?
Good question, and I do not have that answer for you currently, and not within house. Maybe our first selectman has an answer on that? More hours.
Thank you.
There you go, thank you. That's what I worked on.
Any further discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 19, to consider it appropriate, approve the following transfer from the tax collector for fiscal year 2023. From contingency, $13,141, to overtime, $9,235, to tax processing, $3,006, to office furniture, $900, for a total of $13,141. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. This was also heard last week. As you know, one of the things I was pushing for is how much overtime we're spending in the tax department. But however, we've been getting a lot of things cleared up, and it's coming along quite well, as we've heard from time to time. This request from contingency towards the overtime is due to a new change in lockbox. I guess there was issues with the other one, so we got a new one, which created learning curves. There was also apparently over 10,000 new bills that were going out this year. Documentation apparently for appeals can take up to 3 years. So by the time these appeals go through and clear up, that's what's been taking more from the tax department's time. The office furniture request is for a fire-resistant file drawer for the $900. Although I know it says fireproof, but what's fireproof? It's fire-resistant. And this also passed through committee 5-0. And I'd like to see it passed here, and I put that in the form of the motion. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Transfer carries. Moving on to item 20, to consider if appropriate, approve the following transfer for the town clerk for fiscal 2023 from regular wages and salaries, $3,275. To professional development, $1,809, to other purchase services, $459, and from purchase service repairs and maintenance, $258, to membership conference and meetings, $749, for a total of $3,275. Representative Anderson.
We heard this at our regular meeting on September 5th. Lisa Arpin presented her budget to us. The professional development and membership conferences were for her to finish her certifications on town clerk. This was a 10-year journey for her to get to her master's, which I congratulate her for. This passed unanimously in committee, and I put that into a form of a motion to pass this tonight.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? Amendment for the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? This item passes. Moving on to item 21. To consider if it appropriate, approve the following transfer related to parks and open space improvements for fiscal 2023. Let's see. From general fund contingency transfer from contingency $66,000 to transfer out capital fund $766,000, and from transfer capital fund $700, increase transfer in $66,000, and increase parks and open space improvements $66,000. Representative Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Let's hit the button again this time. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Ways and Means, we reviewed this last week. This was something that we all already approved. Was it earlier this year? Late last year? I believe it was late last year. Again, for improvements to the supply pond as well as the River Farm Meadows. They're looking for the $66,000 for that work again. So this was something we already designated, but we did not fund. So this is the funds for that project. It also passed through committee 5-0, and I put it in the form of a motion that it passes here this evening. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve this transfer. Any discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? If not, all those in favor of the transfer signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Moving on to item 22. To consider and if appropriate, approve the following transfers from the Finance Director. From Board of Finance contingency, $32,500 to audit, $32,500. From overtime, $100 to longevity, $100. Public celebration, other supplies, $78, and to seasonal part-time help, $78. From other supplies, $80 to seasonal part-time help, $80, and from contingency, $204. And that would be Representative Healy.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Mr. Moderator. This also was heard last week. I guess the large one here right now, as far as the audit, it was catch up from the tax department, and that was legal fees, and that was that $32,500. The rest of what we're looking at, public celebration, is pay raises for the band director, and as well as the cable TV due to the increase in public meetings. So this also had passed through committee unanimously, 5-0, and I put its passage here tonight in the form of a motion. Thank you.
Motion on the floor to approve these transfers. Any discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Transfers pass. Item on to 23, to consider and appropriate, approve the following transfers from the Finance Director. For legal services, from tax appeals, $16,240 to expenses and claims, $16,420. And from probate court communications, $55 to microfilming, $55. Representative Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. We heard this in committee on September 5th. Jim Finch made a presentation to us with regards to various legal claims and the paper, the processing for microfilming, which is also known as processing. This passed in committee unanimously, and I put that into a form of a motion.
Motion on the floor to approve these transfers. Any discussion from members of the RTM? From the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Transfers passes. Moving on to item 24, to consider and appropriate, approve the following transfers from the Finance Director. Zoning Board of Appeals, from travel, $350 to memberships, $200. From regular wages, planning and zoning, $515 for a total of $1,065 to advertising, printing, and binding, $1,065. Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. As I said earlier, rules and ordinances did not meet, but I would like to waive Rule 4.41 on this. It's a small amount of money. These are mandated expenditures, and in fact, almost all of it's offset by revenue. So at this point, I'll move to waive Rule 441.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Show of hands. All those in favor of waiving Rule 441, show your show of hands.
Show of hands. You gonna count them?
Opposed? Hold them up, or you want another count?
It's unanimous.
Okay, the rule has been waived. Representative Black.
Thank you. Again, this is an internal transfer within the Zoning Board of Appeals. They've got some excess money, small amounts in a couple of accounts here, and then their advertising, printing and binding is over. This is advertising that's required for legal notices. The total amount that they're over is $1,065. In fact, if you read the accompanying memo, They actually were over budget on the revenue side of $1,025, so nearly all of this is offset. You just don't see it in their budget because that revenue flows into the general fund. So with that, I'll put in a motion to approve this transfer of $1,065. Look
Is
for
there
a second.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion from members of the RTM? Or the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? The item passes. Okay, item 25, any other business to come before the RTM? Representative Riccio.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I'd like to take a few minutes and talk about what happened yesterday in the 5th District. First, I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate my fellow Republicans, Ray Ingraham, Dennis Flanagan, Kyle Nelson, and Carolyn Sires, who were victorious in the recently held Republican primary in Branford's 5th District on Tuesday, September 12th. The people in my district have asked me some questions about it, so I'm going to try to clarify a few things. And their main question was, why was there a primary? In particular, I would like to congratulate incumbent Carolyn Sires, who ran a strong and independent campaign so that she could run again in November to claim her seat on the RTM. And she had to run an independent campaign because she was not nominated by the Republican Town Committee several months ago. In order for Carolyn Sires to be placed on the November ballot as an endorsed RTM candidate, she rightfully and legally called for a Republican primary in the 5th District. With a lot of political maneuvering behind the scenes to thwart her efforts, she worked her butt off and walked her district and spoke with Republican voters in spite of the Republican Town Committee efforts. When the primary was open, when the primary was over, and the votes counted, Carolyn Sires received the highest number of votes among the other competing 4 candidates. As a result, unfortunately, someone had to lose. An incumbent, Donald Conklin, was eliminated as the endorsed candidate. And the RTM body does lose a very good man who's done a great job the last 10 years, and I was happy to work aside of him on the Public Services Committee. As often as everyone knows, I've questioned about our town spending or overspending on various matters. But I think in this case, the money spent and the temporary discomfort it may have caused the people who work there, or the kids that went to school there, or where the voting took place at the Indian Neck School, was well worth the cost. I have not read a single complaint concerning the outcome of the primary, except for one disgruntled pseudo-Democrat who wrote a very negative and blistering article on social media against Carolyn Sires' victory. And that article was pretty pitiful. Our town residents have been fortunate to have a person like Carolyn Sires representing and responding to their needs and concerns, regardless of their political affiliation. She truly is a person, Mr. Gilly, for all the people. All the people. To my fellow Republicans, I saw you flip me the bird. To my fellow Republicans, with respect and deference to you, the people of your district and your party have spoken. Please pay more attention to their voices in the future. Again, I want to acknowledge and congratulate the entire Republican slate for their primary wins, and hope to see you all victorious in the November RTM election. Thank you.
Representative Toohill.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. With a heavy heart, I bring to your attention the passing of two great Branford citizens that we lost over the summer. They both loved our town and served Branford very well. First, I note the passing of former RTM representative Kevin O'Donnell. Kevin served on the Branford RTM about 10 years ago. I believe he was on public services. He was a Marine serving our country. He had a sharp mind and was the epitome of a kind and gentle soul. He will be missed. We also lost Joan Burdick. Joan and her husband Murray moved to Branford about 60 years ago. Joan was a graduate of Smith College and worked as a Rockefeller University researcher. Joan got involved in Branford activities soon after her arrival. She got involved in CDAP. That was the Community Development Action Plan. People in Branford were asked as to what type of a town, did they want Branford to be. And our present planning and zoning code is basically based on that CDAP report. So she worked very hard on that, and then she got on the Planning and Zoning Commission. She was on the commission either as a full member or as an alternate for many, many years. Maybe about 30 years she was on that. She was very hardworking, great volunteer. She put her heart into everything she did. She was an incorporator and one of the first presidents of the Branford Land Trust. She also was the chairman of the James Blackstone Memorial Library Board of Trustees, and she guided the first Blackstone renovation, which was about 22, 23 years ago. So she passed away at 97 years old. So she, Joan Burdick, and Kevin O'Donnell, former RTM representative, will be sorely missed. And to honor them and their recent passing, I ask the RTM now for a moment of silence in their honor as great Branford citizens.
We have a moment of silence, please. Thank you, Representative Tu. No, you have something else, Guy?
Yes, I have something else, Mr. Moderator, and this concerns yourself. I understand that you were involved with a great rescue that you did with a person in a car, and you received a commendation from the Branford Police. She was, what, stuck in the sand, and you helped her get out, and the Branford Police were very, very impressed with your efforts. And I just want to congratulate you for getting that, and I also want to thank you for being the moderator now for 10 years.
Thank you very much, Representative Tu.
You're welcome, sir.
Anybody else from the RTM? Anybody from the public? Hearing none, I guess we'll move on to item number 26, which is adjournment. Oh, Mr. Droman? So, Mr. Jerome, before you speak, I would just like to ask you a question. If your comments pertain to the Board of Education or the superintendent, they're not relevant to this RTM.
I understand. Thank you. It's a little lonely up here. Could somebody call the former superintendent? I talk better with him by my side. Anyways, Greg Derolman, Pheasant Lane here in Branford. And I definitely want to speak to things that pertain to the RTM, things that were said in this room, things that happened in this room. So there is no doubt Mr. Flanagan, that my conversation is relevant here, but thank you for bringing it up. I appreciate it. You know, I'd like to kind of take a quick look back at the last meeting, which, you know, in June, where I spoke about an unfortunate incident that took place involving a Representative Preet. You know, I've looked, I've seen a charity. The charity is called FIRE, F-I-R-E. It's an acronym. The mission is to defend and sustain the individual rights of all Americans to free speech and free thought, the most essential qualities of liberty. That's what they are geared towards. That's what they embody. They have been around for a while. They're based out of Philadelphia. And Mr. Preet, I made a donation to this charity, a modest donation, in your name as a result of what happened. I thought it was appropriate. I thought it was a great learning opportunity, and I hope something can be learned from that unfortunate scenario. You know, I also spoke about a chain of events regarding Representative Healy, regarding his committee, regarding, well, hold on a second. Let me go back for a second. I'm sorry. I also want to say what exactly happened. And I have to say what exactly happened because the truth is that the way that it was characterized by Mr. Ingraham was incorrect. Actually, in some ways, arguably flagrantly incorrect. You know, and I went back, I listened to it on tape, and it's still there. And you know, I came back after there was the recess. I came back. I noticed Ms. Sires in there speaking to Mr. Preet. We made eye contact. My entire goal was to just give her a fist bump, congratulate her on speaking up. I admire people that speak up. If that's a problem, then that's a problem. I admire people that speak up for things that I am flagrantly against, because there's so much go along, get along, that when someone speaks up, it's quite noteworthy. And I just wanted to congratulate her on that. And when I did, and I walked past, and I was in the area making eye contact, not interrupting the conversation, Mr. Preet whipped around and with just tremendous animus, vigor, put his face right in my face, okay, and said that I was not to interrupt his, quote, private meeting, his quote, private meeting in a room full of people, no doors, no anything, and then proceeded to put his hands on me, okay, by losing control overall, all right. I wasn't lingering, I wasn't creating anything, and you know something, this has happened, I've seen situations like this happen many times, and I have to tell you, the idea, I was like just shocked, and then I figured, okay, what else could possibly happen that could be at this level or even worse? And then Ray Ingraham said, hold my beer. I can top this. And what we had in that last meeting, seems a while ago, I hope you all enjoyed your summers. What we had was a majority leader essentially sticking up for one of his representatives, which I totally understand. But in doing so, he's supporting this kind of behavior. And is that right? I mean, it's bad enough that it happens, but now at that meeting, and again, it's still on tape, so you're supporting that as a majority leader at a public meeting? I mean, I don't know what's better or worse, but I mean, they both suck, but arguably that could be worse. And honestly, when you step back, you say, okay, the situation with Preet, then there's allegations involving Mr. Healy towards another RTM member, towards a female RTM member that was articulated. On top of that, after Mr. Preet did what he did, I'm sitting back there, we're getting ready to re-adjourn the meeting. Another female representative comes up to me and tells me about another situation involving Mr. Healy, involving bullying, intimidation, and marginalizing to Chris Hines. Now, does the female representative want to acknowledge that? Okay, well, that's fine. Obviously, she's uncomfortable in not acknowledging, and I'll honor that. So you have three different situations. You have a majority leader prevaricating and intentionally misleading. He's saying that I stated, well, everybody saw it. That isn't what I said. The problem is that I had made that statement 5 to 10 minutes before he made his statement. It's misleading. It's speaking in a gray area. And you look at my situation, you look at the Healy situations. What's the common thread? What's the common thread? And by the way, this is not a reflection in any way, shape, or form. I am not intimating directly or indirectly that this has anything to do with our first selectman. Okay? Our first selectman has a million things on his plate, and this has nothing to do with him. Okay? But you look at what's the common thread. And the common thread is that this is happening under our majority leader. And you also look at what kind of turnover are we talking about with our majority leader. And I looked. There were 2 recent replacements. There's at least 4 people not leaving, not running for whatever reason. There seems to be an effort to get rid of people, as I'm hearing it, that are among the people that really and truly do stand up and have brains, have a backbone, okay, and stand up, which I value, much to my detriment, okay? I mean, and this is, so we're talking about a turnover rate, something like about 33%. And this is when Republicans have a 19-11 majority. In other words, hey, we're winning the Super Bowl year after year. And this is that kind of turnover rate. And look, and the reason why I'm saying all this, it's not because, okay, hey, you guys should do this, you guys should do that. You look at all of the stuff that's happening, and what this does is it produces an environment where somebody can come on in, an entity, a person, come on in and take advantage and hand us our rear ends. And that's exactly what happened. Whether Ed Preet and Josh Brooks, okay, apparently 2 of Mr. Hernandez's biggest fans, okay, whether they care to admit it or not, the facts show that an entity came in here and really handed us our ass. There's no other way of saying it. My apologies, okay? And my point is that is this not a very fertile ground with which to do it? And I'd like to be able to have these conversations and bring this to your attention in the hopes that we could learn something from it, because if we don't learn anything from it, we have a greater likelihood of repeating the process. And that's something that I'm really trying to avoid. Okay, so, I mean, there's a real problem here. And when you look at what the problem is, it's not about any one person who didn't get this, who didn't get that, who's on their way out, who's this, who's that. You look at the amount of bullying and intimidation, the marginalization. You look at the people that aren't running, and you know something? You step back and you say, hey, symptom, 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 and eventually we get to a problem. And I would hope that you all aren't blind, can see it, can acknowledge it, and if you choose to, do something about it. On the other hand, honestly, you know, if you feel that this is what you all know each other better than anybody else in the world, and if this is what you truly feel you deserve and is comfortable for you and is right for you and you deserve, maybe you're right. But it doesn't look good, and it looks like something that somebody could take advantage of, just like Mr. Hernandez did for 13 years. And he got, when you look at all the monies that he got, $3.4 million. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.
Okay, go ahead and have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
I'll make it.
Representative Ingraham, seconded by Mr. Stefanik. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, we are adjourned.
This program was brought to you in part through the support of the Town of Branford. Watch town meetings and other videos on demand at branfordtv.org.